So this is our very first podcast, and we are starting with a series called the Student Section. So the Student Section is going to be a place where I can interview today a former student of mine, where I can kind of get some input, some insight from a student perspective, so that I can get better and just, maybe other teachers around who may be hearing this can also take this information into consideration on how to, help their classroom out. And so, if nothing else, it's going to be full of fun and laughs, and it's going to be a growing experience for me, regardless.
Right.
Maybe even on a personal level. So, we're excited to be here. I'm excited that you're listening. Again, thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. But really, just happy that you're listening, and I hope you get something out of this if you're listening. So, brings me to Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Caleb Dinsman.
Right there.
Dinsman, as I used to say in the hallway. So, welcome on to the show, buddy. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate
Thanks
you
for having me.
giving up your time during spring break to be here, and it's really awesome. Taught Caleb, I think it was 2 years ago now that he was my student. I had him for 2 years, and he had me for 3 different math classes. My very first year was Caleb's sophomore year, where he had me in back-to-back math classes.
Back-to-back, right before. Was it right before?
Right before lunch,
Yeah.
yes. So I really felt bad for his class, as they had to deal with me back to back. And actually, that class right before lunch, wow, thanks.
I'm kidding. It wasn't. It's fine.
That class right before lunch was the longest class we had of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to deal with me for a good chunk of time, and it really helped us bond as a class.
Yeah.
And they were just a great group of kids. I'm really glad that of all the classes that had me for that long, I think your class was the class to have it. So we vibe pretty well. I loved y'all's class. Loved all my classes, but definitely I had a lot of memorable moments with your class specifically. And I think I talked to the most students still that are from your class. More than any other class. So without further ado, please come on, introduce yourself, Mr. Caleb Dinsman.
Hi, my name is Caleb. I'm technically still a freshman. I don't understand how years in college work, because I did a bunch of dual credit. So I'm halfway a junior, but I'm also still a freshman. But I'm in college. I'm a little bit behind. I'm doing dual credit. I'm doing online. I still can't drive. I'm not a success story yet, but I'm doing things sort of.
He's doing things.
We're doing things. I go to work. I go to school. I don't do school, and then
So I wouldn't call you not a success story. I think everybody has different levels of where they're at.
You're right.
So don't knock yourself, man. But so working at a grocery store as a cashier.
Yeah.
So he's
he's
using math. I guess
every day.
Impromptu,
every
huh?
Day.
Like off the okay. What do you use any math that I taught you? Don't lie.
I mean, not really, because we do money. Like you taught me geometry,
right?
And algebra.
Okay.
We were there for algebra 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You taught me geometry and algebra 2. So, and some
math models.
Yeah. Which it's higher level than just counting money, which I still suck at. But that's beside the point.
So not so much, maybe.
Not so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
Well, there you have it, folks. He's not using a lick of the math I taught him, but he needed to learn it nonetheless, because that's what the state says he has to learn.
I know.
So the first formal question I have for you is, how do you know if a teacher truly cares about their students?
I've thought about this a lot, because before college, I would have said it's everything they do outside of the classroom. It's yelling Dinsman in the hallway. It's being there after school when I had a bad day, when I would come in and we would just talk for 3 hours. It's being there that was a thing that we did. But it's being there for more than just a teacher. Like how do I say this? It's being there for more than just. You're not just delivering a curriculum, or you're an actual person. I have had teachers who were just like, this is what you need to know, and I'm going to teach you that, and leave me alone. But with you and with a couple of others, it was what you would do outside of the classroom and the I don't know if space is the right word, but how safe I felt in the classroom, like how safe I felt to fail. And there were some times where in any other classroom, I would have been like morbidly embarrassed. But when it would happen in your classroom, it was completely fine. I mean, we laughed about it, but it was completely fine. But then last semester I took an English class, and it was online, so we weren't. There is no outside of the classroom time really. But this teacher knew exactly how to teach the material in an engaging way, and then B, we had like these things called flexible learning days, where we would just go into like the Zoom and we would just do it was like a study hall, and we would talk about books and movies and writing, and we talked about things that weren't really classroom related, but she used her class time for that. Like she sacrificed her own class time for that. So I guess it still comes down to what you're willing to do beyond the curriculum, what you're willing to do beyond handing a kid a book, and but yeah.
So that teacher in her own class time, though it's online, it's through Zoom.
Yeah.
Would she participate in those?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. It would get to the point where I was kind of a teacher's pet, because by the end of the semester, only 3 or 4 people were even going to the flexible learning days anymore. So we all kind of became really good friends, sort of. I don't know how to be. I don't even know how to make friends anymore. I don't talk to any of these people anymore, but we did like kind of develop a rapport, and we could talk about things, and we had shared interests, and she was a part of that. Like she was a part of that group. So
yeah. So okay, so that's awesome. So what I'm getting from you is basically the extra effort kind of things, the being available outside the classroom to talk, or just to allow you taking their own time. And I guess in college you had that flexibility to use your own class time.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was there a lot after school. We had a lot of long talks, about life and just guidance and stuff. And it wasn't always, you coming to me. Sometimes I was venting on to you, and that was pretty cool. That I had a student I can share stuff with, and so yeah, you definitely knew me more on a personal level than a lot of your classmates and a lot of the students in the school at all. Maybe even more than some of the teachers, to be honest. Like, it's crazy. But so what I hear is, for teachers, to keep in mind what you do outside the curriculum. It does matter, and it doesn't go unnoticed.
Right.
When you do those little extra things and try to make a lesson engaging also, but just being available, I guess, dedicating their time to you on a more personal level is kind of definitely something that stands out. So that's good to know for teachers who do want to know, how can I make more of an impact other than the curriculum? Because that's a lot harder for me to make a connection, but I do try to still, but it's harder, I guess, to show those extra things when there's not really the opportunities. But the class time and being that I do have such great administrators does allow me to do more things of that nature, where we could kind of have like a flexible learning thing. And I think that's something I would want to implement, because I'm not saying I do that now, but I kind of allow for other talks to go on, and so that's definitely something that I'm going to keep in mind. So I appreciate that. That's good stuff right there.
As a teacher, like it does help when you go above and beyond. It does. Like, I know I hate to say that, because I know teachers are doing a lot already.
Right.
I hate to be like, you need to put more work in, but it really does help build your relationship with students, and it helps the student in ways I don't think y'all fully understand. When you put in the extra effort to have inside jokes, this is gonna be dumb, but know who they're crushing on. No, like dumb stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Like, it does help when you put in the extra effort to notice things and to be there to help with things of that nature.
Yeah. So I think, knowing a lot of the inside stuff and having those little inside jokes and makes it more personal, and yeah, it's a cool thing to have that chemistry kind of with the classroom.
Yeah, you're right.
And earlier, and I forgot to mention this, when you answered question one about the, safe environment kind of thing, like that's a big thing for me because I do try to do that. I'm not always sure how to because everybody, especially nowadays, everybody has different interests. Everybody has different upbringings, different backgrounds, exposure to different things. So I try to, be a safe place for everybody. And that's a really hard thing to do in today's day and age. And
right.
so I'm glad you said that, and I hope more of my students do feel the same. That I try to do that, but again, I'm not always sure how to. But it's definitely something I would love to do more of. Do my best to do that. So as you mentioned before, when I was teaching Caleb, it was a really small school, and I think the whole school maybe had like 200, maybe a little over 200 kids in the entire school, pre-K through 12th grade.
It was
small graduating class. I think your class was like 11 students that graduated, or
by the time we graduated, I think there was 8.
8. Okay, so really small classes. So what would you say are some of the advantages of having a small school?
I don't know, and I don't know that I would have said this up until the last semester of senior year, but we really were a family by the end. I say that we're not like super close now, but that last 6 months when we were going on trips, when we were doing fundraisers together, when we were doing all of these things, I legitimately felt like, because I had known most of them for years, I legitimately felt like we were a family by that time. We knew each other. Like, we didn't take ourselves too seriously. I'm a little bit, this is probably an understatement, I'm a little bit weird. So, in coming into, like, since graduating, coming into, like, a job, it's been a little bit more challenging trying to connect with people when I'm weird. So, because I didn't realize how good I had it in high school. I'm not getting choked up, I need to cough. I didn't realize how good I had it in high school because I would do my weird things and people would just be like, oh, that's just Caleb. He's fine. Now I go to work and it's kind of still the same thing. Oh, that's just Caleb, leave him alone. But it's not like translating into it's not translating into friendships as well. It's not translating into a life as well. And I give credit to you for that because it was your classroom. It was the teachers at that school that facilitated that environment. You're very sheltered in school, no matter like big school, small school. You're sheltered, so you have the ability to, especially at a small school. I think you have the ability to not be as closed off. You have the ability to like make friends. I feel like make friends isn't specific enough, but like you have the ability to be yourself, I guess. Like you in the real world, I feel like you have to put more walls up than I was aware of. But in high school, it was because of teachers like this that I really was able to be myself. And I don't have that, you don't get that as much in the real world. So really a lot of credit to teachers for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's kind of one of the beauties of being in a small school is that y'all kind of traveled with the same group besides maybe some electives. So for y'all to create such a close bond, and your class was unique, man. And I wouldn't call you weird. I call you unique. You're one of a kind, man. Turn it into an asset. It's not a deficit at all.
Yeah.
But what was unique and awesome about your class is y'all were so different. Y'all had y'all's little groups. You had the athletes. You had, the guys who were more like into the construction kind of stuff, the shop classes, and but all y'all had something to bring to the table. Y'all had, and y'all all. I think the biggest thing was y'all all seemed to accept everything, like accept the differences, and even though, like I said, y'all still had y'all small little groups. Like as a class as a whole, y'all were awesome together. Like there was not any drama really. It was like smooth sailing with y'all. I don't remember any really big things coming out of that class. It's always been a pretty good, well structured, well mannered. Man, y'all were great. So it was cool to see that y'all's class was definitely different in that aspect. That y'all did have each other's backs. Y'all did kind of turn to a family. And,
Right, we did.
And so that's neat, man. That's really neat. And but yeah, in the real world, yeah, I guess it is a lot tougher, especially nowadays. But I tell you this: always be yourself, because no matter what you do, everybody's gonna judge you. They're gonna have something bad to say.
Yeah.
They're gonna find some kind of negative about it. So as long as you're gonna be judged, you might as well be judged for being who you are. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good though. Yeah, I do think that was a huge advantage to y'all small school.
It was.
I love that y'all had that close knit bond. And kind of like on the I guess on the downside, and you kind of mentioned, y'all didn't have a counselor, y'all didn't even have a nurse. I mean, a lot of things with a small school is a bit of a disadvantage. A lack of resources that we had, things of that nature. I don't think I had a projector in my classroom until like three months in, man.
I don't think you did either.
So it took me a while to get that.
They brought that flat screen in that didn't work for like the entire year.
Yeah. So anyways, what would you say as a student were some of the disadvantages of being in a small school?
I think a lot of it is just resources. A lot of it is, it's resources, and then it's mentality. I think because I thought very differently than the people around me. I felt emotion very differently than the people around me, and I don't know if that's like some kind of neurodivergent, actual like brain thing or what. But I was very different. I was very unique, as you called it, and I don't know if this would have been different in a big school. I'm only speaking, but I was never able to articulate that. Yes, they were like, that's just Caleb, he's fine. But I was never able to like articulate why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I was never able to articulate why I was so unique. We're gonna say unique.
There you go.
Gotta get used to that. So, and this might just be more like real life stuff, but especially now, it feels a little bit more isolating. It feels a little bit more. I never really learned how to communicate I feel like I think so deeply and I feel so deeply, but I don't have any idea. Like if I try and communicate that, people look at me like I'm weird. So I never really figured out how to find acceptance. I don't even know if that's the right word, but and this might be too deep for a podcast. We might have to re-record the whole episode. But I never really, in a small school, and it probably does come with resources and not having a counselor, but I felt isolated because I didn't know how to articulate how I was feeling, and maybe help was there. I just never knew how to ask for it. Like there were people around me who were seeing a counselor once a month. Like the school had a partnership with and they were seeing them once a month. And this is gonna look bad on me, but I was like, they can't feel worse than I do, and I'm not getting referred. But so yeah, it's not having resources, and because you don't have resources, then the student doesn't think you can help, doesn't think like at a small school there is help. So they're really scared to ask. I got really scared to ask for help. We get really scared to ask for help, I think.
Okay. And see even at big schools, I went to a big high school, and I think even students there, though they have more resources, I think they still are, unaware of how to seek out those resources. Because there's a lot of resources that, like, even the district I'm at now, that they offer, and I had no idea our students had access to that. So I think a way of getting it out to the students and making them, the thing is, the big thing is making them feel comfortable with doing it. And I think that's the hardest part, because they need to have some kind of authority figure who they can confide in and who can, help them seek out the correct resources and feel comfortable with it. And maybe that would have helped more. But even at the big schools, you see a lot of those students falling through the cracks, not making it because of that. And I think it's easier to hide in a big school because you have more. I mean, definitely more students, but you also have like they kind of branch off with a group of friends, and that's kind of their outlet, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking. And you didn't necessarily have that because you only had 11
Yeah,
12 kids,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
So, but then that is disappointing to hear, and I feel for you. And you were at the same school for almost almost your entire school career.
Yeah,
One school
almost.
besides 1 year in middle school that you left for
I left
for a year,
yeah.
and then you came back. And I think another thing, particularly about your school, was that a lot of times there was a lot of teacher turnover, and so maybe you couldn't find one that was there, that was there for you long enough.
Yeah.
And different variables at play there, but
Right.
that's definitely something to think about, because there's kids all around that are feeling like you, big school, small school, medium-sized school, who may feel like that and they need something. So
Right.
that's sad to hear. But yeah, definitely something to take in for sure. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I think especially in high school, you need to start with all of the kids talking about, like, saying that it's okay to talk about certain things that we have kind of ostracized from society, like mental health and other, like, that's one thing, and then other things of that nature that we just, like, and I talked about this, I have my own podcast, I talked about this a lot. We need to just get rid of taboos, especially with, like, because, well, like, I was having a conversation with someone, and they were an older person, and they were talking about, like, one-act plays, which are all, the ones that go to state are all super dark and have suicides, and their argument was, kids shouldn't be seeing that, much less acting it out. And my argument was always, but we're the ones doing it. We're the ones who don't know how to, like, and I have not checked this statistic. I may be completely wrong, but suicides and mental health incidents in high school is a rampant problem. It is a problem all over. Like, it's a problem, and I think a lot of that comes from we don't give kids the outlet to talk about it. So, and when I play helps, the arts help. The arts help a lot, but so yeah, the biggest struggle I was having was just feeling different and not being able to feel like this is probably too honest for me to cut this, but I feel like I haven't been honest in like a decade. I feel like I have not been I feel like there's always a wall up. There's always something that someone doesn't know. And there's always something that I'm not telling someone. And I feel like part of that comes from people in authority won't talk about certain topics. And I don't know, and then you may be listening to me being like, I don't know how you talk about stuff like that in school. But and I don't know that there's a proper way to implement this, but the struggle I was having was these things you're just told never do those things, and then you immediately will want to run and do those things,
right?
And you're never like given tools to deal with stuff. I don't know.
Okay. No, I mean, and I think being at a small school, you aren't exposed to a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
It's more of like, you just shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't even think about that, and so not a lot of exposure to certain things. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, obviously, but I definitely think at the bigger schools you maybe get a little more of that, but it's and part of my language is probably half-assed, and it's probably something the teachers don't feel comfortable with to begin with, and there's certain teachers who are, and I think with COVID and everything, the pandemic, mental health's a big issue right now. It's a big topic for people to be discussing because y'all were living through a pandemic. You missed like almost 2 years of your high school career because of it. So, so I definitely think there's something there, and I really hope the people up top are really considering it and really, putting it into perspective that there's more going on than just the academics. And I know the academics are important. Don't get me wrong, but if you, let's say a kid's dealing with something at home, trauma, whatever, and they show up to school, they might just be showing up to school because they have a meal to eat, like there's probably more at play. There's more of a reason than that kid in the corner's not doing work or refusing to pay attention. It's probably deeper than that, I think.
Right.
And teachers, they do have a lot on their plate. They have a lot on their plate, and they're worried about scores, they're worried about this, and so it's definitely hard to kind of implement those things when they have so many other things they got to do. But it's important,
right?
And you don't always have, the people at play to help you out, especially at a small school. But even if you do, you start meeting with a counselor, it's going to take a while to develop a real relationship, a connection to really make you feel comfortable. So teachers have that privilege because they get to see you on a daily. So that's what makes it easier. But I think also from a teacher's perspective, like a lot of things that you didn't hit on with me because we didn't, we weren't talking about them. But even if you had, like, some of those things, I might have been like, yo, like, I want to help you, but I'm not certified, man. Like, that's way, I'm no expert. It's way, out of my range. And so some things like that, teachers may not feel comfortable because not because they don't want to help you, but it's because they're not, it's not their field of expertise. And so in things like that, I remember I had a professor in college, Dr. Menke, he used to always tell us, if you ever have that with a kid, that close bond where they are giving you stuff that you probably can't handle because it's out of your certification. Do what you can to put them in the right place, and even if it means walking them to the counselor, like, hey, I know so and so, he's a really good person, like, because it's tough to do that because you're like, this kid is over here opening up to you, and as much as you want to help, it's like, I don't know if I can. I'm not the best person to help you, but let me show you somebody who can, even though you may not have that same relationship. Hopefully, and it's hard for students to open up to somebody they don't have that bond with. So, that's it's sad to hear that you felt like you haven't been honest in 10 years and you hide stuff, and because that can eat away at you. And so I don't recommend it. And I've done stuff like that in the past, and letting it out, and even letting it out sometimes just means talking about it or crying about it or being mad about it. Like there's all these things, and it's all these different emotions. So I get it, but I definitely would recommend at least finding somebody. And I was blessed. I had a friend in college who studied psychology, so she was kind of like my quote unquote therapist or counselor, whatever you want to call her. But she was great about allowing me to talk to her about things, and because she had that background, she was able to give me some healthy ways to kind of deal with it. So I never truly, met with a therapist. I did know somebody who had met with a therapist and, just raved about it. Like it helped her so much. So, just maybe, don't be afraid, especially now, you're an adult now, and, you deserve to be, fully free from anything. Nothing should hold you back. And, so I definitely think you should seek that out, even if it's like it's an unofficial kind of thing, just meeting with somebody to talk to, but just letting it out, man, because it's not going to do you any good just staying it inside. But you mentioned one act play, and this is making it a little bit lighter, I guess, because we're getting kind of dark. No, we're getting kind of deep, which is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all, because that's what happens in the classroom. This is some of the stuff that doesn't get talked about enough. And as teachers, again, a lot of us are worried about the scores. A lot of us are worried about keeping our jobs and this and that, and got a million fires to put out, and try to have a personal life at that. So. But one act play, I never got to officially see a play.
You never saw, okay.
And it was because y'all's plays were always away, and being that I was the math teacher on campus, I couldn't take off or whatever. It was really frowned upon, and it was usually in springtime, which is testing time. So it was really hard for me to be able to go to a play. But I saw y'all rehearse a lot. I would just, if I had a free period and I made time to go just see what y'all are doing, and even after school, I would go check on y'all. And, it was really cool to see y'all in that element. I saw y'all rehearsing one time. Y'all ran it full through, and it was just really cool to see, man, just having the confidence y'all have. Like, I don't think y'all truly valued how much y'all do up there. Like, being a teenager in high school, acting out these, like you said, some of these are kind of, dark or deep. And but even so, just acting in general, like I always look back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have tried theater. Like, I wish I would have. But You know, so it's cool. You got to have a kind of swagger too. You got to have a kind of confidence to be up there on that stage, man, in front of all these people. So pretty cool to see you in action, and everybody for that matter. But y'all had some cool stuff, man. It was really cool. It was really neat. I wish I could have seen one of y'all's live plays, but you know. But I mean, anyway, so incredible actor. He forgot to mention that in the intro. He didn't tell us. He's And what are you studying? What do you want to do?
Right now I'm studying radio, television, film. I want to direct, not write, film. But I'm not going to brag about my writing, but I am a good writer.
Sounds like bragging to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Hush. But yeah, I'm studying radio, television, film, but I might be transferring to a school that doesn't have an RTF program. So I think it's going to be what they call a dramatic media degree, which is stage and screen.
Okay.
So
cool.
Although I think it's more geared towards actors anyway. So I mean, we'll see. But
cool.
I don't know.
Very cool. And so Dinsman and I, you know, we probably really connected because of your taste in music, and
I think so, yeah.
And you know, and it's a variety, kind of like me. So, you know, you could hear the you know, Africa by Toto or Michael Jackson or Queen or you know, like all these different greats, and then we could also be Taylor Swift or some of these more poppy tunes, and so wide range, and I think that's kind of what really kind of helped us bond. You are the first student I met at that school because you came up with your mom, who was also a teacher there during summer PD, and so that was interesting. You were the very first student I met, and I thought about it earlier today. I was like, man, he was the actual first student I met at that school. So just a little fun fact there. But yeah, so great taste in music. He's great with the films. He changes the way I watch films. I become a little bit more of a critic, I guess. Not a critic, but I like to analyze things a little bit more now.
A little bit more. We were talking about a film that I loved that you didn't love.
What film was it?
I don't know if you loved it, or I don't know if you didn't love it, but we were talking about Turning Red, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever," and you were like,
No, I mean, I have, and mind you, I still haven't finished the movie.
Still haven't seen the whole
I only saw the first 45 minutes or so with my niece.
3 times.
Yeah, I saw you post about it, and I was like, I mean, and some of those things made me laugh as an adult, you know. But I was thinking from the perspective, and mind you, my 10-year-old niece had already seen this with her mom, so it wasn't like she was seeing anything for the first time under my supervision. But you know, so I was watching, and some of the things I was just like, oh man, this is a little PG, almost semi-13. So, but it was funny. I would want to go back and actually watch it because I was kind of just playing it in the background. I was doing stuff. So, but I mean. Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk more about that when I actually watch it. Then we can decide if I like it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyways, moving on. How, you know, so as a teacher, you know, obviously I like to stay connected with my students if they choose to stay connected. I mean, not everybody wants to. I don't know if I reach all my students the same way that I reach you and other students I have, but you know, with some of the students that do make those close knit connections and want to stay in touch with and want to help more, because you sounds like you could have used a little bit more help on, you know, just ways of dealing with things or maybe ways of handling situations. I know students now that I had a student recently who technically finished all credits, so technically graduated, who's going to walk the stage in May, and she had came back to do something in the front office with her mother, and they were both in my classroom, and I was talking to them, and apparently she doesn't know how to do a resume and how to you know, and that's like, man, it's tough, you know, because you're about to enter the real world. So I'm trying to think of ways that maybe I can hopefully help, you know, for students I currently have a way to help them with that before they even leave my classroom. But you know, for staying connected, you know, what would be what is the best way, or what would you say is the most meaningful way? What are ways that, you know, I could help you even beyond the classroom, even beyond my years of being your teacher?
Well, social media helps. Being able to stay connected through that, through just having each other's phone number. And then oddly enough, I think this helps. I think the fact that you're talking about, and this goes back to when you were doing YouTube videos earlier, a couple years ago, we just talking about things like, oh, I get to sit down and watch another lesson with Pettis today. Like just like talking about things that are important. And with one of those videos, you took my request. So like with one of those videos, you talked about something after I asked you to talk about it. So I think remaining available, and then even if it's not like what we're doing now, like hanging out with them for a day,
right?
If you're gonna make content, keeping them in mind, keeping specific people in mind when you make content, when you make things, and then also just this. I haven't been out with a friend in a really long time, so getting to do this and like inviting a student out for coffee, although you don't have a coffee maker, but
hey, I still got you your coffee, man. Come on now.
But like inviting a student to hang out, that helps. But one of my favorite teachers, after students like some of his best friends are former students. After they graduate, they'll play D&D together. They'll play video games together.
And it's cool because I've kind of seen it happen with you now and another student of ours. I'm gonna shout him out, Caleb Santos, because he's y'all two are the reason this is happening right now. Because you've been telling me for a while now to get back on YouTube making videos and stuff, and he was the one who had me on his podcast. And he's the one that, we started talking, after that podcast, you're the one who saw it, was like, hey, start making your own. And he was the one who even got me into doing one because, he asked me to be on the show, and we just filmed our second one actually. It's cool to see that transition because now it's like, y'all aren't just my former students. And it's like, sometimes we're texting, he and I, and I'm like, yeah, bro, or whatever, like, yeah. And it's like, because it's just, your former teacher calling you bro, you maybe never thought, but I mean, it's like, it's cool to see that, because I would consider, y'all are my friends now. Y'all aren't just my students, you're, maybe mentor, mentee kind of thing. But no, I definitely, y'all are people I would kick it with, like, yeah, we're cool, good vibes kind of thing. Let's go have lunch or something, or coffee that I bought for you, even though I don't have a coffee maker. I don't drink coffee, Dinsman.
Coffee is good.
But good. Anyways, so no, that's cool. I definitely will try to keep these coming out. I'll try to, you be more active on social media. Especially, I like the idea of getting the input from y'all, and maybe that's something we could tweet about and stuff. And it's actually something Caleb Santos had suggested to me. Is like one time he like tweeted out, "Hey, what do y'all want to talk about today?" And he took their responses so that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So so like a huge shout out to you and Caleb Santos for, even making this happen today. Oh, actually, he provided me this microphone. Oh yeah. He was kind enough to donate to me. So hopefully he's watching. I will have him on for sure. And his podcast, you can find it on YouTube. It's Midway Vibes Chinwag. So definitely check it out. I've been on his show before. He's gonna have me on. Or I've been on again. He hasn't released that one yet, but. It's a really cool vibe, it's really cool. It's really neat what he's doing. He's a great young man. He's Caleb's age. They graduated together. So again, just it's a beautiful thing to kind of have that connection and friendship with both of you.
There it is. Going back to like, how do you stay connected? I feel like I'm closer to Caleb now than we were in high school because he does the show. And because I'm always like saying, "Hey, that was a really good episode." So
nice. And actually, we talked about you last time we met on Sunday to do the.
Oh, you talked about me again, huh?
What do you mean? What does that mean? No, he had I had told because I was telling him about the podcast, and I was like, yeah, it's really because of you and Caleb Dinsman, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, yeah, he hit me up after you came on the podcast that day. Yeah. I was like, yeah, so he just kind of mentioned that, you kind of was telling him good job and stuff. So that's really cool, and especially that y'all feel, you feel closer to him. That's real cool. But he's doing good things, good kid. It's just cool to see y'all kind of grow and it's just awesome. So next question, what advice would you give to students today? Now keep in mind. I'm talking about any grade level, elementary, middle school, high school, it doesn't matter. And also considering that they are still in school post-pandemic. Like post all this craziness that's going on that they've had to deal with. They've been out of school, and now they're coming into school, and I think most teachers can relate. They are running wild.
They are running
So maybe some of y'all have some good. I don't know. I mean, but so what would you, for really, and you can really, whatever you want to, whatever direction you want to take it. But
well, the biggest thing is, as deep as I went a few minutes ago, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
As much as I waxed poetic about how terrified I was to ask for help, and still am, don't be afraid to ask for help in high school. Whether you're an elementary kid who needs help coloring pages, or you're having a mental health problem, or you're not understanding a math problem, do not be afraid to ask for help. That is the biggest thing. And then learning from this guy, teachers are there to help. Teachers are there to, and I just said ask for help, but teachers are there, like, teachers should never have to be your parent, but teachers are willing to, if they're like this guy, teachers are willing to put up with a lot, and they're willing to help you with a lot more than you realize. So I would say don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask for help with anything.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, thank
That's
you.
good. Yeah.
You should write it down.
Well, I don't have to. It's recording, so I can go back and watch it or listen to it.
Yeah.
So no, and I think that's very important, and you do see a lot of teachers getting burnt out and stuff. But I mean, when they have those when they make those impacts, teachers don't always get to see the fruit of their labor. They especially those younger teachers when until the kid goes off and maybe goes through middle school and high school, then they realize, hey, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so was there for me back in first grade. Like, they don't get enough of that credit, I don't think. And sometimes they do. Sometimes, like, when schools do, like, for their athletes, they do the teacher appreciation thing. Sometimes you see them go back and pick their elementary teacher. And that's a beautiful thing to me because at such a young age, you made an impact on that student. They remember you. They choose you. Throughout all these other teachers they've been having since they've had you, you made that impact. So to all you teachers out there, definitely keep grinding and be there for those students as much as your job is demanding and as little time as we know you have. Those little things make the biggest difference. So keep on being great. That's what I encourage you to do. But that's good to hear, and I'm glad I was able to do that for you there, and hopefully for others. But hopefully I can continue to do that. Like, hopefully I can get better at that. How about that? Yeah, grow from it. And impact even more lives. So it's nice, especially when you let the teacher know. It's nice, man. Like, and it's not what we're doing it for. Like, it's really not. Right. But who doesn't like some compliments or some justification or reassurance that they're doing a great job? So no, definitely. For my advice to students nowadays, don't be afraid to tell those teachers that they're making a difference in your lives. Like, even if it's just the fact that they greet you at the door every day. Like, because those teachers, not only do they deserve to hear it, a lot of them need to hear it because maybe nothing else is going well for them, and the only thing they have going for them is the relationship with their students. And I've been in a school where that was my only thing that kept me going, was my relationship with my students. And if I didn't have those kids kind of there, like, reassuring me that I was doing something right, like, I would have probably been out of teaching by now, man. So definitely let those teachers know. And even if those paraprofessionals or whoever it is that makes a difference in your life, let them know. It's a good thing. That's good advice right there. Okay, so cool. So moving on to the next question here, and this one's gonna be we're gonna take a little bit of a turn, I guess. But what is the most memorable moments that you had with me as your teacher? Like inside the classroom.
Okay. The one I keep coming back to is, and I told this story on my own podcast, is I was clopping through the class one day, and I walked past an empty desk, and I tripped on it, and I caught myself, and then I walked out, and then on the next empty desk, I tripped on it, and then I caught myself, and then on the next desk, I tripped and didn't catch myself, but that one wasn't empty.
And you smacked your head on the desk, right?
Smacked my head on the desk, like full bear hug on this person, and then on the ground, laying there for 30 seconds. This guy Stood there for like a full minute and a half just laughing.
Oh my
god. Not like...
You just made me sound like a terrible person.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying what
I
happened.
made sure you were alive first.
Sure you did.
I think we did.
I don't think you did.
I think you're remembering it wrong because you might have blacked out for a second.
Concussion? Okay.
But no, so what happened was before you go and make push a lawsuit on me, that did happen. I remember the student too, and I remember the class. I don't know. It was just I think in your class, and we mentioned this. The fact that y'all were pretty close and stuff. It wasn't like anybody was ever laughing at anybody. It was more like we were laughing with you to make us feel better.
Yeah.
But I mean, y'all laughed at me too. You were the one when I couldn't spell.
Try to spell
perpendicular.
Right now.
And you did every day on from then on out. You would just bring it up anytime. And
I almost brought it up when you
and
were
so I figured you would, but I was gonna bring it up too. It's like, so it was kind of funny that we had such a close rapport that we could, we could do that. We could kind of laugh at each other's mistakes and downfalls, I guess. And you said earlier you weren't afraid to fail in my class, and that was kind of a big thing for me because I don't ever want my students to fail. I don't care, and if it's academic related, I don't care how bad you are. Or you're not. Nobody's bad at math, or nobody's. I feel like you've had bad experiences with math, and I mentioned that before. But so it's like one of those things that you shouldn't be afraid to fail because you don't succeed unless you fail, and I know that from personal experience. I promise you that. Yeah. And it all goes back to what I used to tell you. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. And have confidence. Make the best of everything. It's gonna be all right, no matter what. And not to say that it doesn't come without its downfalls. It gets hard. But going back to the situation, because I'm going on a tangent, but it did happen. I remember the student you're talking about, who you fell on her desk. Yeah. Smacked your head. Now, it was the craziest stud. I remember I get you said I laughed right away, but honestly, I held in my laughter because of how hard you hit that desk. Like, I was ready to start exploding, dude, because it was the funniest thing ever. But then I was like, holy crap, like, he hit that thing hard. Yeah. And so I was like, I was really making sure you were okay first. And then you were kind of, I want to say you might have even yelled out, like, I'm okay. Or, like, you were just like, I think you were just more concerned about running into that student. But, after you kind of then reestablish yourself, that's when, I'm not going to lie, I laughed like there was no tomorrow. But it was the funniest thing, man. But if you weren't okay, like, I couldn't have laughed at you, man. Like, no, that's so wrong. But I promise you, I did make sure you're okay first. You might not remember, but it's probably because you took that. It was a crazy hit, man. Like, I was really worried for you. Like, I was like, and I think I told your mom afterwards. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, Caleb had a little situation. I was like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I laughed, Miss Dinsman, but I promise you, I made sure he was okay first. And she was kind of like, oh, Caleb has those situations where he, it's hard for him. He trips on things. And so she was like, that's what made me feel better because I was really worried. I was like, dang, I don't want Caleb to be like, yeah, I felt in class today and Mr. Pettis was just laughing at me. Like, no, dude, I did make sure you're okay. I promise you that. Yeah. But then as the class, no, we started laughing pretty hard. Yeah, but again, it was more of we laughed with you because all the class had, when something went wrong or when something they did was funny, even me, like I said, y'all made fun of me spelling wrong, and sometimes I would maybe say things the wrong way, or just I couldn't draw a triangle, and I was teaching y'all geometry, and y'all gave me crap for that. So it was a fun environment, and I think had we not been so close, I wouldn't have, no way, no how would I have ever laughed at a student falling over a desk. But I think because of that bond we had, so don't come at me, don't at me, man. Don't come at me. But it was a situation.
That's Twitter right there. Say whatever you need to say.
No, it was a situation in which, like I said, he was okay. Then we had our good laugh about it.
Fine.
But yeah, it was just one of those classes where it was cool that we could kind of laugh at each other's expense, even though, like, no feelings ever got hurt. I don't think. I think everybody was pretty good, and that's really hard to do because as a teacher, I need to be careful with that because. Definitely have kids that where it's not okay like that. But I think that class was just y'all were a different breed, man. Like, y'all would just roll with the punches like we all did. It was a beautiful thing. That was cool to do. But yeah, it's definitely something, not teachers have that benefit of doing and being allowed to do. Because but it was a small class. that everybody kind of knew each other and everybody was cool with each other. It was one of those things that we were able to thankfully do. So, yeah. So I hope you knew that I did care for your safety, Dinsman. I wasn't just laughing at you, man. Nah, but it was good times. It's the most memorable moment, right? Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That was a good one. There's a lot of things that happened in that class, but fun stuff. I think one of my most memorable, I don't know if it's a moment, but I just remember the class giving you crap because, I like to let them listen to music whenever they worked, and so after I was done teaching or whatever, like we would listen to music because I love listening to music when I'm working on math. So and so I let them create a playlist as a class, and everybody added their songs, and as long as it was clean, as long as it's appropriate, or you could find an appropriate version of it, I would allow y'all to add it. And being that most of those students were listening to like NBA YoungBoy and this and that, they probably didn't get to add a lot of songs because there was no clean ones on Spotify. Yeah. Well, you have such a variety in music, were able to add about 90% of those songs on the playlist. Yeah. By the end of it all, they were just giving you crap like, "This is Caleb's playlist," blah blah blah. And I didn't have premium, so we had ads, and everybody's like, "Caleb should pay for the ads. Like this is his playlist anyway." So it was just really funny. Like I said, y'all always tease each other. It was just,
hey! All I'm gonna say is you did not put a limit on how many they could have done that to.
You're right.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
You're right. I didn't put a cap on it.
It's not my fault. I have good taste.
All right. Well, the last question that I have for you, on my end is, how could I have been a better teacher?
Oh God, I have no answer to that. I have no answer to that. Like.
Something. I wasn't perfect.
Well, nah.
Just okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely weren't.
Definitely weren't, but like, I could go with the guilt trip answer, but like, you should have stayed till my senior year. But I don't need to do that because you're happier, and like, the guy who came in after you was a good teacher. So I'm not going to do that because that doesn't need to be said.
Well, you already said it though, so it didn't need to be said yet. You said it. So
I'm sorry.
No, can I speak on that there?
Yeah, you can speak on that. You can, yeah.
I mean, no, definitely. That was one of the toughest decisions I've had to make. I've had to have made because I did not want to leave your class. Yeah. Because I knew you were going to be seniors, and I remember. It was probably about the third week into teaching y'all. Damien had raised his hand, and it was out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey, Mr. Pettis, you're gonna be here to our senior year," and I told him, I said, and it really was. I said, yeah, that's the plan, and it really was at that time. My plan was to be there for a long time. Like I wish. Some days I still wish, like, man, I wish I was still at. I go to some of the events. I went to the the football games. I went to the festival and stuff. So, no, I definitely. You're right though. Like I in ways I want to say I regret it, but I don't.
Yeah.
It had to be. It was a move I had to make, but it was one of the toughest moves to make. Yeah. And no, I didn't want to leave at all because of y'all. It was hard, man. And the other thing is that I don't think y'all take into consideration is I didn't get to say bye to any of my students. Oh, yeah. It was COVID. It was COVID. Yeah. Everything started after spring break. I didn't see any of y'all again. And except for you, on my last day up when I was cleaning out my classroom.
Oh yeah.
You were there with your mom, of course, and I was able to. You were the only one I was able to actually say goodbye to. And
that was I think about that day a lot because and I don't know how much you think, but. I sat there and you had this box of like letters from former students, and I think I sat there and read every single one.
You did.
And I was like, and it's just like, I hope you realized how much that means to those kids and getting to see it's like reading a Yelp for a teacher. I was sitting there and just like I should have wrote one, but just knowing how much it wasn't just me, it wasn't just us that was having this great experience with you. You're just a really good dude. You're just a really good teacher. You're good at your job, and you're good at more than your job. You're good at, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was
if you wanted me to help clean, but I didn't help clean.
You sure weren't helping me. I mean, and honestly, a lot of it was, a lot of the stuff was already there. So it was just cleaning out my personal stuff. But I do remember you going into that filing cabinet and finding those letters and reading them.
Speaking more to that, which you remembered who every single one of those students were. You remembered who they were. You remembered the context in which they wrote the letter or whatever.
Yes, I remember the students.
You remembered everything.
Because you were quizzing me. You were like, who is this? And who is that? Who is this? Who is that? Yeah. So, no, and it's cool because not recently, maybe last year, when I stumbled across those letters again, I had, some of them I have on Facebook now or whatever, and I kind of reached out to them and just check on them. And so, no, it's definitely, you can't do that with every student, which is kind of, like I said, you don't really get to see the fruits of your labor, really. Yeah. And it's just, but it's cool. Like, and most of my experiences were short experiences. So it sucks that I wasn't able to be there longer or get to, not just with your class and every class that was there, but also my other schools.
Yeah.
So, no, it was definitely one of the toughest decisions I had to make. I think on a personal level was a decision I had to, I think I made the right decision in the long run, but no, man, it was definitely hard to say goodbye without saying goodbye. So, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Anything else besides guilt tripping me?
Yeah, I don't remember any specific moments where it's like, yeah, you were wrong about that.
I think a way I could have improved with your class is I think I could have made things more engaging, but I didn't have, and honestly, I didn't have the time or the resources. I was teaching 6 other preps, and of course half of them were tested subjects, and that was what I was being evaluated on. So I as a teacher, and I feel bad about a lot of things, even what stuff that today, like in my classroom, that happens. I'm like, I don't know how to be better about it, I guess. And that was something I look back on y'all, and I wish I could have had, because I think the next year with math models, I think I did a lot more engaging stuff because I had a little bit more time, and those kids seem to really enjoy it more because they got to do more hands-on stuff, and that was stuff I didn't have for y'all. Any questions for me?
Going back to like outside of the classroom, I feel like I told you a lot and put a lot on you just today. But over the course of like the time that we've known each other, did you ever feel like I put too much? Did you ever feel like a student was asking you? And did you ever get to the point where you're like, I don't feel comfortable talking about this? And where's the line for you as a teacher between like helping a student with like hard things versus like I should just go tell their parents that they're going through this?
Got you. No, I don't think we ever reached that point with you. I think a lot of things you said were more PG kind of things. Like it was more surface level. You weren't really digging deep. And you might have hinted at something, but not really. You were more surface level with me. High school kind of typical things that I was just trying to help you either talk out or maybe give you some guidance on what I experienced. At no point did I ever feel, because I wouldn't have given you advice if I didn't feel comfortable with it. Like if there was ever something that was like, hey, that's out of my element. Like I said, I would have told you like, hey, that's not my expertise. I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you that. But no, not at all. I think I encourage it. I encourage having my students, because that makes me feel like, I definitely am making it a comfortable thing for them. And, like I said, a lot of times it wasn't just you, man. Like it was me, venting onto you, letting you know stuff. So I think we just kind of, we just talked, man. It was just good conversation. Nothing too deep, too crazy that we had to like help each other with. But it was just more like, just someone to talk to, kind of deal. But no, not at all. And being that your mom and I, we worked together, and I knew her. She was one of the teachers, I enjoyed working with there. So no, if anything ever got too personal, I wouldn't have felt comfortable not telling her. I don't think I ever had to tell her anything about what we talked about. So no, it was definitely not that crazy. So, but no, you were never too much. Yeah. Anything else for me?
If you had to pick a specific moment, what's your most memorable moment?
What do you mean, in life?
From
or
like me. From like my class.
Honestly, I was probably Trashkaball. I loved playing Trashkaball with y'all. It was funny y'all got so competitive and we just, like I said, that was one of those things we like to poke fun at, the way we shot, and y'all would sometimes want to challenge me, and then one time I turned the geometry lesson into a basketball thing. We went to the gym and we actually shot some shots, man. But using that geometry, the good old geometry of basketball. So it was fun, man. But that was probably my most memorable thing. Just I mean, y'all's whole class was memorable to me. I could probably name every single student that was in that class. And you're like, it was only 11 kids, but I haven't seen y'all or taught y'all in over 2 years. I've had many students come my way since then. So now y'all were just a really fun class. But I love the Trashkaball, the competitiveness, and how crazy y'all would get with it. But that was probably my most memorable moment from y'all guys. Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right. So, well, all right. If that's everything, man. I mean, it's been a really fun time. It's been really cool kicking it with you today and having you on. And thank you, because again, you're one of the ones who inspired me to do this. And the Twitter handle is up there. The also TikTok handle you can use. It's the same thing for both. MP3 is what we're calling it. Mr. Petty's Podcast Productions. So you do have to use the X and the underscore to get it, because that was the only way I could get the user. But I really like that. So it came to me last night, actually. So I hope you enjoyed Chapter 1 of the student section with Caleb Dinsman. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out and being here, helping me set up the mic. And again, check out Midway Vibes Shinwag, Caleb Santos providing that mic, and the one who also helped get me into doing these podcasts. And wherever you're listening, I really do appreciate you tuning in. I hope you get something out of this, whether you're a student, a former student, or a teacher, or just somebody outside the spectrum. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If nothing else, maybe a good laugh, or hopefully some insight. I hope so. Hopefully some knowledge came your way. But again, we just really appreciate you. Time is money, and I appreciate you investing your time into MP3. You are beautiful. You are loved. Thank you for being here. Take care. Tune in for the next one, Chapter 2. Bye-bye. Have a good one.